Hey, friend. I'm Sid Meadows, and
Hi.
I'm a business leader and longtime student of the office furniture industry. Welcome to the Trend Report. Thanks for joining me today, and I'm excited to welcome Amy Edington, a product manager for commercial with Cyncly, to the show today. And I'm confident we're going to have a really great conversation about technology, our industry, integration, the importance of technology. So, as you know, my goal is simple: to provide you with valuable insights, information, and resources to help you grow and your business grow. So let's dive into today's conversation. Amy, welcome to the show.
Hey, hi. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you with us today. And I'm going to just start out straight with the question: who is Cyncly?
Such a great question, and I'm glad you asked. Cyncly, formerly known as 2020, is a company of many companies that have come together. So to kind of get it quickly out there, the investors of two different companies, right, of 2020 and CompuSoft. CompuSoft was our competitor over in Europe. 2020 was here in North America. And they said, you know what, you guys would just be better together. And so you had these two large companies come together, and then through that, more acquisitions that have come. And so instead of just being a part of the residential community and the commercial community, we are now a part of windows, doors, and glass and flooring as well. So it's really Syncly is the umbrella for many different business units. One of them, of course, near and dear to my heart, which is commercial.
Okay, so thank you for that. So basically, Syncly has emerged because of a merger, almost a pun
Yep.
there, between two organizations, right? And a company in Europe that was your competitor, and then you guys here in the United States, you came together and you were originally offering commercial and then kitchen and bath, and now you've expanded to windows, floors, and doors, I think you said.
Windows, doors, and glass, and then
Windows, doors, and
flooring as
glass.
well.
Okay, got and
Yeah.
then flooring as well. Okay. And so now you're a worldwide partner under the umbrella of Syncly with individual. Do you have individual brands that exist out there?
So yeah, there still
Okay,
are the brands that are underneath that umbrella of those products, but
got it.
as a whole and how we are going to market is Syncly.
Got it. So we know you as the former 2020, especially
Mhm.
those of us that have been around a long time know that like Cap and Giza and Worksheet were the original, if you will, drawing and specification tools for the office furniture community. But behind the scenes, you guys do a lot more than what we see, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, you are correct.
Because you like
Um,
fully integrated ERP systems that run factories and process orders, and so it's much big. Because on our side of the fence, we just see this small little component, but the
yeah,
reality is you do a lot more than that.
we do a lot more than that, and I think that's the interesting thing about Syncly, right, is you have that front end, right, more for that sales process, but the back end all the way into manufacturing, which is what makes it powerful. And especially with all of the acquisitions, we're trying to really integrate even more so the tools so that the user is having to do less work and just passing that content throughout the
Mhm.
process of their projects.
And most of what we see on our side are things that reside in the proverbial cloud, right? Hang out in the cloud.
Uh, yeah, so we're not totally in the cloud yet today. That's a
Mhm.
solution that we are working towards. But yes, we have all of our content that is available for anyone to download and use. But yes, the ultimate goal of where Syncly is heading is to the cloud, and for many reasons, right?
Mhm.
Being able to allow the end user to access the most recent information that they can. And today they can with pricing, which is great inside
Mhm.
of Worksheet. And a lot of that got started, when the world went on fire a few years ago,
Mhm.
and everybody was changing prices as fast as they could.
Yep.
And there wasn't a great way to do that. And so I think moving more and more towards that content next. And I think the big thing too, right, to remember is a big portion of our business is kitchen and bath. And so we're solving the solutions on both sides of it. And it's been really interesting now coming in and seeing both sides of it from a content
Mhm.
perspective. And I think really understanding the importance of the quality of your content
Mhm.
and what that means when you are using multiple tools to get your job done.
And when you reference content, let's make sure we define content. You're
Yeah.
talking about the symbols and the data that supports the symbols, which also includes finishes and pricing. That's what you're referring to as content.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. All of those lovely part numbers that designers, still have memorized in their brain. I still have some memorized from my days at Haworth, which is a little scary that I
Hmm.
remember
Yep.
18 years ago, those numbers. But yes, yes, all of that fun information.
So we kind of grew up a little bit in the same way because I started at Haworth or at a Haworth dealership. And this was pre-computers. I think I've talked about it on the show before. I remember
Yeah.
the day we got our first computer and we could draw electronically, and it was a black screen, a huge monitor, black screen with little green dots that you could draw. Our designer was so excited about it, right? But I remember sitting at my kitchen table at night. So I was trying to learn. So when I needed to do something, I would work all day, then I'd go home at night and I would sit at my kitchen table and I had, graph paper and then I had templates because Hayworth had a whole bunch of templates and I had my
Yep.
scale and then I had my price book. So I would draw out everything and then I would go to the price book and the price book was ordered. So by like panels first, then work surfaces, then support, then power.
Yeah.
And so that's how I would learn. Right. So I still know what a WS-2424 means, mind you.
Exactly, exactly. But that's the part, right, where I really think, once this content is in a good spot, designers
Mhm.
shouldn't have to think about all of
Yeah,
that. We should be thinking more creatively and
correct.
being able to give what I always call that best solution versus the solutions that we know because we don't have time, right?
Yeah.
Because we are worried about those WUSS 24 whatever numbers.
WS-2424, which for those of you that you haven't figured that out yet, that's a 24 by
Work
24 work
surface.
surface. Super easy. WS work surface 2424. So, Amy, let's talk about you for a minute. How did you get started into the office furniture industry?
Yeah, yeah. So, a little bit of a crazy way that I got here. I actually originally had a degree in psychology and special education, and I was almost done. And I realized I don't think I can do this every day and truly be happy.
Hmm.
And so I had always dreamed of design, but I never thought of it as quote unquote the real job. And it was probably my first big leap in like,
Hmm.
what are we doing here? But we're going to do it. And so I went to design school. I got my degree in interior design. I started with my internship at Haworth. So that is where I got my first start into the business,
What
which
did
was
you do
funny.
at Hayworth?
I was in their design department and I was fortunate enough where they allowed me to literally get to do a little bit of everything.
Hmm.
So at the time, it was when I think half of the building was already demolished for their new
Hmm.
headquarters. So I got to dive really deep into facilities right away in house with all of
Hmm.
that. I got the opportunity to work on multiple showrooms. I ran the entire materials and finishes section for the design department there. So working with all of the reps, and even got the opportunity to go to Chicago for a photo shoot, which that in and of itself
Oh, I
was
bet.
a very cool
Hmm.
experience. So yeah, I started in that. And then as I call it, I had my first big girl market crash in my career. And it was, your low man on the totem pole or low
Hmm.
woman on the totem pole. And it was like, hey, we'll keep you on so you can find something, which so nice of them.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden, this opportunity arose with Configura. And I knew who they were because at the
Sure.
time, Haworth was the only company that was actually utilizing
Hmm.
CET. And I was very determined that I was going to use my degree no matter what. I wasn't going to go back and work at a mortgage company that I
Hmm.
had during school or go back to waitressing as well. I was like,
Yep.
no, we are staying in this industry. And so I took a leap of faith there and took a support position, right? Like just
Hmm.
picking up the phone and answering questions.
Yep.
And then quickly realized that, oh, she can do a lot more than just support. And went into training and helping out with pitching for sales to manufacturers. And then worked basically for the next 6 years within a big portion of it was with the Steelcase dealers as they
Sure.
launched. Um, and then have had a few things in between there and ended up over at Herman Miller and helped launch them as well. And then COVID happens, crazy things in the world happen,
Yep.
and this opportunity arose with Cyncly. And one of the biggest things that I realized, or uh, that was presented to me when I was at Herman Miller is I was bound and determined that everybody was going to utilize CET Designer. And basically, after about 6 months of implementing, I got that's cute, Amy, but it's never going to happen from dealers. And I was like, okay. And it allowed me to kind of like step back and assess what was really happening. And it was when my eyes were really wide open to go, designers use CET,
Mhm.
everybody else uses worksheet, right? So worksheet is a massive part of the
Yep.
process at a dealership. And we're not just talking about design, right? We're talking about sales, design, project management, now ancillary specialists, all the way into if installers are getting sent, you
Sure.
know, worksheets. So,
Well, for
it just,
clarification, let's clarify
yeah,
something. So first off, thank you for that story. And we missed each other at Haworth by just a little bit because
yeah,
I left Haworth in 2003, which was right after they had announced the new building, but I missed the construction part and you came in the middle of it because we missed by just a couple of years. But
yeah,
let's talk about work. Like, let's define worksheet. Worksheet is a
yeah.
specification tool that is basically I'm going to simplify it. Don't get mad at me,
No,
but
you're good.
it's basically a big old Excel spreadsheet with all the data inside it, right?
Yep,
Okay.
you're right. You're right.
Okay.
With a lot of features in there,
Mhm.
right, to make your day easier. But yeah, it's kind of what I call the nuts and bolts
Mhm.
in order to get that order all the way through and
Right.
installed.
So no drawing necessarily. You're not looking at a plan view and you're not in the building itself, but you see the product and then you specify every aspect of the product and it works you through each option that you need to select, correct? And then as you're
It
doing
does.
that, it's calculating the pricing to make sure
It's
the list pricing
calculated.
is correct. Right.
Correct. And then after that, right, you get to go through and apply all of the lovely discounting and play with the margins that a dealer is going to want to do to
Mm-hmm.
ensure that they're getting the most out of it as well as,
Yep.
everybody else is. So yeah, it's really a tool that not only gets you to order, but really helps organize an entire project for, is it a
Mm-hmm.
large project? What phases is it going to
Sure.
get ordered as well?
Right. So you got to Cyncly and you are now a product manager for commercial. So
Yeah.
what does a product manager do? What does that mean?
Yeah. So a product manager is somebody that owns and maintains either a specific product
Mhm.
or, in my instance, many products, right? So it's worksheet, it's cap complete, Giza, visual
Mhm.
impression. It's ensuring that those tools are being utilized the best they possibly can be in the market,
Mhm.
and to continue to listen to the market and understand what they need in order to be efficient and effective in their jobs.
Right.
So it's one of those things where I love it because you get the best of both worlds. You get
Mhm.
to have a connection into the end user and listen to the business, but then you get to see all of the cool stuff behind the scenes with your developers.
Yep.
And we had the best sprint review today, I think, to date. And
Mhm.
that's the exciting stuff that I'm excited in the background, and everybody else just has to wait until the end of the quarter to get all of the fun stuff we're working on.
Okay, so you're going to have to explain one other thing. And thank you for the definition of product manager. So you
Yeah,
basically manage the suite of products that we use as an industry, hence the term
correct.
commercial, right?
Yep.
Okay, that's very logical. Thank you for that. But you just said something that a lot of people may not understand if they don't work in a company that uses this. What is a sprint? And then a sprint review, because you use it. We just had the most amazing sprint review. I'm sure people are going, what's a sprint review? So tell us what a sprint is and then talk about the review.
Yeah. So the way that we chunk up is the way I always call it is we
Mhm.
have an idea and we have to take that idea and then we have to essentially chunk it up into what we call sprints so that our developers can take the time and focus on that specific section to ensure progress
Mhm.
going forward is going to work. So we work in what is 2 week sprints.
Mhm.
And that allows us to work through that progress. And then at the end of each sprint, we get together, all of my developers, all of my QA. We've actually added in our support manager and myself, and we review what happened in those 2 weeks. What
Mhm.
was the progress? And then we look at it and we go, what went well? What did we learn? And what didn't go well?
Mhm.
And so it allows you to develop in a way that you're making progress, but you're not making too much progress where you might go, oh no, we just wasted 3 sprints, and we don't need any of that, right? And
Right.
so it's really a way for you to manage your time through development to ensure that you are going to reach the end release.
Yeah. So thank you for for explaining that. And I believe in episode 142, I believe David Stella with Cresta Workplace talked about those types of sprints in the design process and how they're using them to design spaces. So it's nice to understand it from a technology perspective, how you're doing it to use or
Yeah,
to create additional products or enhanced
absolutely.
product. Okay.
I
So
did not realize, by the way, sorry, I
yeah,
probably forgot from that. I did not realize designers were also starting to talk in sprints. So
yeah.
that's
He did.
really
He talked about it.
cool.
Yeah, he talked about it. It was he talked way over my head a lot of times, but that's okay. We had a lot of fun and I learned a lot in that episode for sure. Sorry, David. But so all right. So tell us, Amy, I'm going to ask you a different type of question now, but
Yeah.
when I started coming up in the industry, you guys were the leader. You were the innovator. You had all the products. Almost every dealer was using either CAP or Giza, worksheet, visual impressions. I remember when visual impressions came out, and so and then all of a sudden you kind of lost that, and CET or Configura emerged as the market leader. What happened?
I think so. I was a part of that, right? Which,
Yeah, because you were
which
at the
is also
CET side, right? Yeah,
right, right, right.
yeah.
So, I think, a couple of things, right? If we look at what you mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, how you remember when you got your first computer, right?
Mhm.
And that was huge. And it was. And then I think we hit that next part of technology where visualization became key into how we communicate with our clients. And I always use my mother as an example because my dad's a contractor. So him and I can go back and forth all the live long day and we know what we're talking about and we visualize it in our heads. And then I have her over here and she's like, what? And then we draw it for her and she's like, oh, yes, that's what you mean. Yes,
Mhm.
yes, yes. And I think it was being demanded, right, from clients that they
Sure.
needed better renderings, better visualization. And so you had a company like Configura enter into this market. And the solution that they had was I think right at the time.
Mhm.
I don't disagree with what CET has to offer when it comes
Mhm.
to drawing. And so I think since a big portion of the designer's time is drawing, that's where you saw a lot of people or people become more quiet, let's say about 2020. I think the other thing to remember too is 2020 is in and it was still in different markets, right? You're in a kitchen and bath and you're in commercial. And so it's also priority, right?
Mhm.
Coming from leadership of where things are going to be.
Sure.
So, it'll be 2 years next month that I will have been in this position. And I think the thing that excites me the most, and I think people definitely have been asking for it, but I also don't think they realize the complexity of it, right? And you mentioned it earlier is the cloud,
Mhm.
right? That's a major solution that needs to
Yeah.
happen. And I continually hear from manufacturers, we need to have the single source of truth. And there
Mhm.
is nobody out there today providing a true cloud solution with a single source of truth. And so I think in the back end, right? Call it 2020, Cyncly was quiet in the background working on this. And so I think when people don't see things, it's like, yeah, what are you doing? But this
Mhm.
is a massive undertaking,
Sure.
right? It's
Yeah.
like how I look at a major manufacturer implementing a PIM system,
Mm.
which is another way to handle a single source of truth internally with a whole bunch of technical,
Mm.
knowledge around it. So I think from all of that, and then I think also realizing the importance of where certain tools lie. And it was
Mhm.
one of the things, through all of the dealers that I've worked with is number one, it's their choice about what tools they use. And number two, tools that have been embedded with processes for years and years, you can't just take away.
Yeah.
And so, although Syncly may have been quiet, what I still continued to see, especially when I was at Herman Miller, was the impact that worksheet had on everybody's day.
Sure.
And so that was where, for me, coming in as the product manager, the number one goal for me is how do you take a 30-year-old plus product that is still file based,
Mhm.
still connected to a computer, not SaaS, and make it better, right?
Mhm.
And so it has been a lot of listening to the end users and
Mhm.
really understanding where's the pain. And that was where, one of the big features we added within the last year was cut sheets. And the thing that shocked me the most, Sid, was when I had a coworker give me a cut sheet from 30 years ago. And guess what the only difference was in the cut sheet today from 30 years ago? There was one difference.
I'm going to guess the price.
Probably, but no.
Yeah, because I don't even know what you mean by the term cut sheet. So before you answer that question, describe what is a cut sheet? What do you
What
mean
is a
by
cut
that?
sheet? So yeah, a cut sheet is a way for a dealer to give a client a visual. So let's
Mm,
say that desk that you have sitting
yep,
behind you.
yep.
Okay. So I would show a rendering of that desk. I would show the price,
Hmm.
where that desk is going, and all of
Hmm.
the finishes with swatches below it of you
Okay,
have a white
gotcha,
laminate with a wood
gotcha.
leg, right? So it's very visual because what we started to see too is, or what I started to hear from dealers is when
Hmm.
they weren't giving, call it that rendering of that specific image,
Hmm.
it would get installed and the client was like, that's not what I picked out. And they're like, but that's what you signed off on. And so this way it's a
Mm,
sign off with visuals of
sure.
materials, everything, and the price. So
Okay.
knowing that now,
I
what do
know
you
that. I
think the
think I know the
difference?
difference. Now you described it. I know the difference, which the difference is the visuals, because back then we didn't have the visuals, right?
Well,
We
you
didn't have
did,
the,
but they were black and white.
yeah, so they were great. Yeah,
So
great stuff.
you get the color now. And that was the thing. And so just to like,
Hmm.
full circle on what this cut sheet enhancement did is it took 30 years of somebody typing and screenshotting all of those things just to get on a PowerPoint where
Yep,
literally you can hit a button and it automatically generates all of that
yep.
content for you
Hmm.
into a PowerPoint, which you can then still manipulate and
Yep.
do all the things that you need to within your dealership.
So clarification there. So thank you for saying that. But did you just say that you could take the worksheet cut sheet and put it into PowerPoint with the
It
click of a
actually
button?
automatically opens into a PowerPoint.
Get out of Dodge, really? Okay, that's
Yeah.
cool. I didn't know that. So
Yeah.
all these years ago when I was creating presentations, I was doing it the hard way, and now you guys have made
Well,
it
no, because I just added it a year ago.
easy.
So not totally fair.
But I think one of the things you just highlight is that advancement in technology takes time.
It does.
Right? It takes time. And so there's this perception that you guys have been left behind and the competitor outpaced you. The reality is you have a market leading product that you focusing on enhancing, and then there's all these other things that were happening in the business. So it's just a perception that you were left behind. But you guys have really great tools that a
Yeah.
lot of the world still uses. So, and I will, in full disclosure, ThinkSpace is a customer. We are a client of Cyncly. We embarked on
Yeah.
a journey with them in January. Some of you may have heard me talk about this, where we optimized our AutoCAD symbols with them, and then we went down the path of creating our cloud base, because we are in the cloud. We have this single
Yes, you
source
are.
in the cloud of our product data. So everything is there. So we have one source of truth. And just to be honest with you, if it weren't for Carrie Anderson at
Oh my
TechBot,
gosh.
Tech Box Collective, I wouldn't even know what the heck single source of truth meant. So Carrie was our consultant, yeah, she consulted with us through this process. Thank you, Carrie. And it's led us to now we have a complete catalog inside of the Syncly tools that you can
Yeah.
download and use to do your drawing specifications. In fairness, we also have the same exact thing inside of CET in the commercial interiors library. So we're in both places. That's a selfish plug. And we are in the final phases, crossing my fingers, of a really cool development. I'm not sure of the published date of this actual episode, but hopefully it's after. But we are in the final phases of a product configurator rendering tool being put on our website under every
Yes.
product so that you can actually go and configure it the way you want. And the the cut sheet that Amy so eloquently described is part of our configurator online, and you can click it and it shows you everything with all the finishes, the product name, the number, list pricing, all of that. Actually, I don't think we put list pricing, but all of that is on the cut sheet for you that you can download. So it's really cool. You'll be able to experience it live and in person on ThinkSpace's website. And I
Yeah.
believe self is plugging in. We are the first US company to actually use the configurator, right?
I literally was actually just going to say, you are
Mhm.
the first to utilize 3CAD. And, you know, I've seen many, many different configurators out there. And I have to say, quality and everything that you get with it. And I think the big thing, right, that I have really learned about 3CAD is it's the manufacturing data behind it. That is
Mhm.
so cool, right? Like, so most configurators, it's a pretty picture, right? To give
Mhm.
that client an idea
Yep.
and maybe pass it on or order. What this will do, though, so everybody understands, is if somebody like that, it could actually be sent to the manufacturing floor and
Mhm.
you've taken out so much
Yep.
back and forth. And I don't think there's a lot of that out there. So
Mhm.
definitely excited to see how everybody starts using it with you guys.
I know. So, David, if you're listening, he's probably not listening, but David, if you're listening, just remember what our deadline is. I will not put you on the spot here. Just remember what our deadline is. He gets mad at me every week, I think, because we have project calls every week. But, anyways, no, but it's been a great process for us and really appreciate everything that you guys have taught, especially me, taught me about tools, which leads me to our next question. So, I have actually two. Why are e-tools important to our side of the table? Manufacturers,
Yeah.
dealers, salespeople. Why are e-tools and the enhancement of e-tools important to us?
I love this question. Absolutely love this question. And I had the opportunity early on in my career to work with an amazing gentleman by the name of Steve Erickson. And he was the one that owned the extension at Steelcase. So I mean, traveled with the man, was in almost over at Steelcase, I feel like on a weekly basis with him, right? And he always talked about TPP or I'm sorry, PPT. I'm reversing what I want to say. People, process, and technology. He always would talk about that. And in my mind, I'm a very logical thinker. And I'm like, well, yeah, that makes sense. Like, get your people set up, have your processes and the technology. Duh, makes sense. Fast forward about 8 years ish. And here I am, and I'm at a meeting at Herman Miller. And it hits me, and I'm like, it's all wrong. It's backwards. It shouldn't be people, process, and technology. It should be technology, process, and people. And funny enough, my lovely friend, as you have worked with, Miss Carrie Anderson,
Mhm.
we go back and forth on this, right? Of which is the right way. But I continue to stand strong in this. And it's based off of years and years of experience of watching dealers and their processes. And the problem is when you set your people up first, you're not maximizing your technology. You're focused on your people.
Mhm.
So I switched it and I flipped it on the way that I would handle going to dealers and helping them change the ways that they were working with their technology and what that means, again, for
Mhm.
the manufacturer, the dealer, and end user. And what it means is the technology is what sets forth all of the efficiency, right?
Mhm.
What can that do for us? What the technology cannot do for us, we then have to set up the proper processes in place so that we can work efficiently. And through that, and my goal, if people do this the right way, you then actually get to look at your people in a different way.
Mhm.
And people who may have done things that you never would have thought of before will do something differently because they have the right technology in place to
Right.
allow them to do their job efficiently.
Mhm.
And so if you continue this entire circle, I call it the technology continuous improvement. And that is why it is so important for there to be an e-tools manager or somebody who's owning
Mhm.
that strategy at all the levels too,
Mhm.
at the manufacturer level, at the dealer level, absolutely. Because what I have seen over the years is I like to call it the bright, shiny object or the squirrel.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. We're all like, ooh, it's
Mhm.
shiny. It's
Yep.
cool. It does one other thing that this tool doesn't do for me today. But I would pause and say, what problem is it solving?
Great
And if
question.
you can't answer what problem it is actually solving, and it's just fun and new, is it actually what you should be doing? And so I
Mhm.
think that's where, especially now in the age of AI, right? And
Mhm.
everybody, and don't get me wrong, I am super excited about it and the things that we'll do. But I will also say this: AI is only as good as what you feed it. So if your content today is not great,
Mhm.
AI is going to give you not great content.
Yep.
And so I think that's the other thing that manufacturers especially have to start assessing is this may be the way that we've been able to do this for years and years, but we have to ensure going forward. And in order for us to be effective in all of the tools that are out in the
Mhm.
landscape today, that our content is as clean as
Mhm.
it possibly can be to be transferred across many
Yep.
different platforms.
Because that's exactly what we do. We take the data in the cloud, our single source of truth,
Yep.
and then we distribute it to everybody else. So we have a person that manages that data for us, keeps it update. And you guys
Yep.
have been great with helping us make sure we're keeping it update, right? And then we take
Yep.
it and we send it. And Carrie actually gave us a list of to your thought process about shiny objects. I mean, good golly, Miss Molly, there are so many tech. Carrie gave me a whole spreadsheet of possible e-tool things for us to look at. But I think it is important to go back to what you talked about, PPT, people
PPP.
process, yeah, PPT, people process technology. And then you flipped it on its head, which I think is also great because as you were talking, I'm like, yeah, because technology, once you know what technology you're using, it's going to drive your processes. And then your processes are going to help inform your people, right?
Yep.
And we all want to do things more efficiently and
Oh
faster,
my
right?
gosh.
And
Yeah.
we want to be better at our jobs, and we need tools that help us to be better at our job, right? And I
Yep.
wish that Excel could just do what I think rather than me have to type it in, but that's another conversation for another. But I love it, right? But I'm curious, what's the argument you and Carrie have about it? Because you're saying
You know,
technology first. She's a technology
yeah, and she
person.
says people first. And I think, right, like it I think it depends on where you're at in the process too,
Yep.
right? And so I'm also, I again, Carrie and I have known each other for
She's
18
awesome.
plus years now. She's amazing. And
Mhm.
so we totally like to push each other, right? And make sure like are we right about what we're
Yep.
saying here? And I think it's just a matter of ensuring you're not forgetting about the person,
Yep.
right? And the
Yep.
talent that's out there.
Mhm.
And I think that's the thing that is what is so amazing that technology does is it can bring out and show talented
Yep.
people that never would have before because they weren't able to do it
Sure.
themselves.
And I think there's something here about a lot of times when we hire people, we put them in the wrong job.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think if we
Yeah.
understand the technology and then we know what our processes are built around to support what the technology can do for us, then we have this gift of being able to put people in the right jobs where they're going to thrive. Because as
Yes.
a business leader, that's what we want. We want people to be joyful. We want them to be happy. We want them to love the work they're doing, love the customers they're working with. And when they're doing something they love every day and they really enjoy, then
Yeah.
I think that's like it's the trifecta there, right? Everybody's happy. So
100%.
I think that you could layer this in with what Rex Miller calls the genius spark and his cliff finder strategy. And that's way back episode 139, guys, is where that one was. And there was a follow up. I forget what number that one. 139 was the second one. So the first one I'm looking at this was 131. But you layer in the people's strengths to what the business needs. And then you've got people working in their zone of genius, if you will, which is maximum production for everybody.
Totally. 100% agree with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us your thoughts. So you guys had a space at Neocon.
Yeah.
And so tell us about your perception of Neocon and how was the show for you guys?
Yeah, the show was great. We're on the seventh floor,
Yep.
so it's a matter of all of the new
Hmm.
business coming in, which is always
Hmm.
exciting and fun. And it was fun this year. We got to showcase another version of 3CAD with another client, so that was really nice as well as
Hmm.
a prototype, right,
Hmm.
for them. And then I think just showcasing more of what Cyncly has to offer, right? When we are so entrenched into the commercial business of call it
Hmm.
worksheet and cap,
Yep.
it's what else is out there. And it's 3CAD, it's Insight, it's these other manufacturing tools that exist
Hmm.
that really are going to help continue to improve
Hmm.
the landscape of the commercial space. So overall, I felt like it was a wonderful neocon. It was lovely getting to be outside and go over to design days as well. So I took
Hmm.
Tuesday, basically the half a day, and went over to visit some friends over there.
Hmm.
And I just think, I've been going to neocon, I think out of the 18 years, I think it's either 15 or 16. You know,
Wow.
I only missed a couple. And it continues. It was just inspirational this year
That's
too. I
great.
think to see all of the products that are out there. So,
It's an important event for us as an industry. It's a very
oh,
important event for us,
absolutely.
especially
Absolutely.
for
We missed you.
manufacturers.
I came down to see you, but you were
I,
at lunch.
sorry, sorry. I had to escape for a few minutes, and but yeah, I think it's a really important show, especially for manufacturers, right?
Mhm.
And it gives us the opportunity to meet people that we don't normally get to meet, and there's people to
Yes.
see us that have maybe don't know who any of us are, right? And so, I thought it was a great show as well, and it's always like, what can you do different or better the next time, right? So we got a kind of
Yep.
our own little list of internal notes about. But
Right. Neocon starts the day it ends, right?
that's
You're
pretty
already
much,
planning for
yeah,
the
pretty
year.
much, pretty much, especially depending on what you're doing, right? So
Totally.
you've got multiple different customers. You've
Mhm.
got manufacturing because you have manufacturing software that runs factories, right? So you have the
Yep.
manufacturer as a customer. You got you got people like us, a distributor, if you will, that's a customer. You've got a
Yep.
dealer that is a customer, and so and most of the people listening are either manufacturer reps, independent reps, or office furniture dealers. We got some interior designers and some end users, as I found out at Neocon listening. So shout out to all of you that approached me at Neocon. Thank you. It's always great
Yeah.
to see and meet listeners in real life, as they say. Um, why is knowing Cyncly important to us?
Knowing Syncly is important because of where we're going with the future, right? I am so confident with where we are going with our cloud solution that um, it's going to completely impact the way people do business, right? It's coming down to what I would call as content is king, right? At the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, if we're not holding that content in a manner that is going to make it easy for a manufacturer to be able to provide new products out to
Mm-hmm.
their customers, I think they're going to, you're going to start to see a big difference between what dealers sell. I think the other thing too, right? And I heard this from an end user the other day. You make it hard, your content isn't clean and easy. I will find somebody who is similar to you with the same price point and the same look, and I will sell them because you have
Mm-hmm.
made my day complicated.
Yep.
And so I think knowing that Syncly truly does care about the quality of that content and where it is going and what
Mm-hmm.
that means, not just for Syncly, but for other areas of different tools that are out there. That's what I'm excited about. And so, as I have told my children, and I now tell myself, is, through acquisitions and all of the changes that go with
Mm-hmm.
that, I'm putting my patient pants on for just a smidge longer
Yep.
because we're getting really close. And it's going to really evolve the way we work. And I think what I'm most excited
Mm-hmm.
about is it's going to change the conversations we're having. Instead of having conversations around the quality of the content, what do you have,
Mm-hmm.
what you don't have, what we won't be talking about is that because it'll be there.
Mm-hmm.
What we'll start talking about are the solutions. And to your point, and you mentioned it earlier through the list that Carrie gave you, what are the right solutions for you to ensure that your business
Yep.
is going to continue to be profitable and
Mm-hmm.
have great margins? That's the conversation I want to have because that is actually a conversation
Yep.
that's going to solve a problem and not
Mm-hmm.
put a band-aid on a problem.
Yeah, and so many times we do put band-aids on the problem. So you gave us a whole glimpse into the future, and that was one of my follow-up questions was what's the future like? But you just told us,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
awesome. So, I mean, and the kind of way I interpreted and what I wrote down as you were talking was the easy button. And I think all of us, I know at ThinkSpace, we strive to be the easy button for the product category that we're in, and to be
Yeah.
easy to work with, to be easy to do business with, to be. And just as an example, now that we have Worksheet, our team is all using Worksheet. It makes our specification and quote process even faster. But we're also just sending as a compliment, if you will, easy button. We're sending a copy of the worksheet file along with a copy of the quote. Not asked for, we're just
The
including it.
dealers love you. Like you are
Well, let's
speaking
hope so,
their
but it's
language. Like that's what I'm talking about is that ease of business. And
yeah.
I think you nailed it perfectly as if you're easy to do business with, you will do great.
Mhm,
And the fact that you are providing that will continue to users will see that and they
mhm,
will continue to come back.
mhm. Well, it all boils down to the customer experience, right? Knowing who our customer is, knowing
Absolutely.
what they experience with our brand. For those of you that are followers and readers of my column that I write for Viewpoint Magazine, my column in the August edition of the magazine is, which comes out the first week of August, is about customer experience. So go check it out if you haven't already done
Cannot
so.
wait.
Yeah. So, Amy, what a pleasure to have you on today to share all things Cyncly, educate us about who the brand is, where you've come from, and really appreciate your thoughts about technology first, process, and then people. And if our community would like to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, they can email me, amy.eddington@cyncly.com. They're free to call me as well if they need to. I am always happy to chat with whomever. So yes, please reach out. Any fun ideas, new features,
Love it.
your life is going bad and you need something, give me a call.
We'll be sure that all our contact information, LinkedIn profile, all that is down in the show notes for you. Just remember, if you do reach out to Amy, let her know you heard her here on the Trend Report, and that's why you're reaching out. So, Amy, thank you again for being here. For all of you, thank you for joining us today. Go out there and make today great, and we'll see you again in a couple of weeks. Thanks, everyone.